Liberal Currents presents Half the Answer with your hosts, Caitlin M. Green and Trent R. Nelson.
Well, happy days are here again, and understanding a question is half the answer. This is, of course, Half the Answer. I am one of your co-hosts. I'm Caitlin M. Green, linguist, author, editor, person who fixed her roots. Take a look at that. Amazing. And with me is my co-host, Trent Nelson, historian, philosopher, author, editor. And Trent, who did you bring me? Who'd you bring me?
Well, we needed to have some special interviews here because, of course, the last week has been absolutely insane, hectic, crazy, lots of things going on. Lemon, it's only Wednesday.
Is this a very special episode, Trent?
It's a very special episode. It's a very special, episode. We have a very special guest. Her name is Amanda Moore. And well, if you're going to use her information, she would at least like for you to reference her. That would be good. Well, we're referencing her right now. Amanda, how are you today? Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
The pleasure is all ours now. Amanda, my introductions, they're always woeful. I love to have the guests explain who they are as well. But today we got to talk about, Groypers. And we have to speak about Charlie Kirk, and we've got to speak about all of these things, and we need your education because, well, for those who don't know, our guest has a lot of education in this field. Would you give us your rundown, Amanda, and then we can jump right into her?
Yeah, sure. So during the pandemic, I spent a year undercover in the far right, which means that I got to be around a lot of Groypers. Lucky me.
Wow.
Yeah. And in the time since then, I have continued to write about Nick Fuentes and a lot of his influence on the Republican Party.
Mm-hmm. Well, listeners to this program may be aware that we have looked at Nick Fuentes a little bit when we're looking at stuff like the far right, various perspectives on Israel. But we have a real deal expert today, and that is really, really helpful because I'm not one. I'm what you would call a dabbler, right? I'm like just looking for the basic information on it when I'm talking about a specific topic. So this is great. The reason why you're here this week is kind of because of all the wild speculation, right, that we watched happen in the aftermath of Charlie Kirk's assassination. Charlie Kirk is also somebody that we've talked about on this program. He was the head of Turning Point USA and Turning Point Action, a far-right conservative influencer. Some people would say he fostered debate on campuses. I'm not going to say that because it's not true. And, he was basically like a stunt manufacturer, right? He created these little viral things and raised a lot of money, had to get out the vote thing for the Republicans, and was also best friends with Gavin Newsom for some reason. These are the things we know about him. And what happened when he was shot is that a lot of people jumped to a lot of conclusions, right? One of which was obviously he was Antifa, the shooter. Obviously he was on the left. And then another group was like, no, that's a Groyper right there. I can smell it. I can taste it. It quacks like a duck, right? It's a Groyper for sure, because they didn't like Charlie Kirk for being what we would call a cuck-servative in our cuck episode, right? And so Amanda's here to help us because of that second jumping to conclusioning that happened, which is saying that he must have been a Groyper. We want to know about Groypers because they are a movement in this country. They exist and they do stuff, and that's good enough reason as any, right? However, Amanda, from the beginning, you were like, "Hey guys, I don't really see the evidence that it's a Groyper that did this. It's we just have to wait," right? That's like literally all you were saying was like, "Please, just time."
Yeah.
Because we knew basically nothing for the longest time. Now we know a little bit. And to all the world, it looks like this was a person who just sort of vaguely felt like Charlie Kirk represented hate and represented a threat to people that he cared about. And so he did something really drastic. Would you say that's correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So maybe not such a Groyper, as it turns out. So
Probably
let's drop the banner. Let's drop the balloons. Vindicated.
not.
How are you feeling right now, today, this morning, on
Oh my God.
September, what is it, 16th, 17th? I don't even know.
17th.
17th. On September 17th, how are you feeling?
Oh my God. I go out of town for one night to do something fun. I went to New York. I went to New York Thursday night because True and I had a live show. My friend and I had tickets. And I woke up an
Nice.
hour before I had to check out of the hotel. And I look at my phone on Friday and it's just messages from reporters that I don't even know who are like, so the shooter was a Groyper. Can I ask you some questions? And I'm like, I have to check out of this hotel. Like, I can't even deal with this. You know,
The
like,
what?
what?
The shooter of who? The where? Like,
Right.
Right.
Oh, unfortunately, I was well aware.
Yeah.
Because, you know, it's like,
no surprise.
you know, but yeah, it just like people lost their minds at me. I feel like I was pretty neutral. Like, just we have no evidence. We have no evidence. But you would have thought I was like,
Yeah, everyone was like, here's the Groyper whisperer on to tell us about the Groyper that did the thing.
yeah, yeah, like, completely crazy. You would have thought that I was like, actually, Nick Fuentes is so cool, and none of his supporters would ever hurt somebody the way people reacted when I was just like, we need more
wow, yeah.
information. Like people,
No, I
people
was
lost
reading.
their minds.
I don't use X anymore, but I do go check it every once in a while just to see what's happening over there. And I think on both platforms, you were just sitting there just being like, how about we wait for some evidence? What about, wouldn't evidence be fun?
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
It seemed very measured to me, but then again, I'm known for always making excuses for the left. That's like, my thing. So here I am. Okay, so you want to get into like what the actual state of the Groypers is, kind of. I don't know. Do you want to do the whole history? What do you think?
I think some background would be good because, like you said, we have sort of a fragmented understanding of this movement, and it would be useful
Yeah.
for exercises like the one we just had to go through if we sort of knew what existed,
Knew
so that
more.
we could be like, "Hey, Amanda told us that we shouldn't jump to conclusions, so let's do that."
Okay, so in the words of everybody's mom texting them that day, what is a Groyper?
So a Groyper is a supporter or fan of Nick Fuentes, who, and this is honestly what I say to people when they're like, who's Nick Fuentes? I'm always like, do you remember when Kanye West was like, I really love Hitler? And then there was like some guy you didn't recognize sitting next to him.
That's
Nick Fuentes. And everybody goes,
Yeah.
oh, wow.
The
So
little fluffy-headed suit-wearing dork. Yeah.
Yes. So, like you said earlier, kind of like after Unite the Right, everyone's just like, well, that's it. Now there's Groypers, and that's kind of true. Nick was there. He was at Unite the Right, but not the Tiki Torch March. He was there for the actual event. He lost his job with Right Side Broadcasting Network, which now does stuff like live stream Trump rallies 300 days a year, however often Trump is doing his rallies. And he became kind of an independent streamer. Tried to have a co-host, didn't work out. He's pretty narcissistic. So just him.
I cannot imagine trying to talk like cut in ever. I've seen enough of his streams to be like, when would you cut in?
The only person I've ever seen him defer to is Kanye West. And that's like just for obvious reasons, right?
Yeah.
Everybody else.
I listened to him like run roughshod over Alex Jones. Nobody talks over Alex Jones.
Alex Jones and Dinesh D'Souza. Okay, it was an all-star team of nut jobs.
But because he's like this narcissist, and because he's a pretty good live streamer, he's gotten this like hugely dedicated following. People who they have their little pledge, I will rape, kill, and die for Nick Fuentes. And so you have all these people, with some of them with their government names, like typing this out like in public, in the public space. It's like crazy to do, especially before Trump 2.0. And so Nick hates Charlie Kirk. hated Charlie Kirk. And there was a Groyper war for a while. And if at any point you want me to stop, like just, tell me to shut up.
Oh, Amanda, why did he hate Charlie Kirk?
Well, Charlie Kirk was too much of a liberal, a left-wing liberal for him. So, famously Turning Point USA, the far left organization. Charlie has always been a big supporter of Israel. I believe he had his honeymoon in Israel, or maybe his wedding or something.
So romantic.
Yeah, it's really nice. Now, of course, there. I want to say this because I saw some misinformation on the internet about Charlie Kirk.
Someone was wrong on the internet, folks.
Well,
the presses.
It was like I think it was Vox.com that actually was spewing some bullshit.
Cool.
So not just based your internet, but he said, I guess at one point that he like respected the Sabbath. This is not true. Okay, this is not true. This is not a true fact. He was hosting events those days. He was doing podcasts those days. He was tweeting up a storm on those days. And so, but he was, an evangelical Christian with a weird relationship with Jewish people, culture, and the country of Israel. And Nick Fuentes does not like Israel, does not like Jewish people. And so this was a huge point of contention. Charlie banned Nick from events very early on, and Nick would send out his Groyper soldiers and generals to harass Charlie at Turning Point USA events.
So listeners of this podcast might remember in the Cuck episode, we played audio of Nick Fuentes at a Turning Point USA event in 2023 yelling at the security team, basically, that Charlie Kirk is a cuck for Israel. And that's part of this kind of activity, right?
Yeah, it is. And because of Nick's cult of personality, he would get these people, not even his friends, just like Groypers who wanted his attention. And they would stand in line at Turning Point in 2019 to ask questions about Nick. Some of those questions would be things like, Charlie, I hear that you really love Israel. I also love Israel. I hear they're great dancers. Everybody should Google, dancing Israelis, which is, of course, a reference to a baseless conspiracy theory that, there were Jewish people, Israeli people dancing during 9/11 as a celebration. You had another person who, when Charlie Kirk was interviewing Rob Smith, who is a Black gay conservative commentator, who came up and said, how does gay sex or how does anal sex, help the conservative agenda? Just stuff like this. And so very cool. Oh, that was another problem that, of course, Nick had with Charlie Kirk is that he, was too accepting of gay people.
Wow. Okay. Because, he's not. He's said some really vile stuff about gay people. Right?
Yeah, it's bizarre. It's just so detached from reality sometimes to hear this stuff.
He's been very clear that being gay violates God's perfect law, and that the moral teachings of the Old Testament about being gay, which biblical scholars contest whether it even does, but whatever, all of that stuff is true, and that traditional values are so important, right? That's Charlie Kirk. And so he's too nice to them, though, because stoning isn't bad enough.
Why? Well, he let a gay guy on stage at Turning Point once, so
he did do that, and so therefore he's basically gay himself.
Yeah. And did Nick
gay
Fuentes
adjacent.
Yeah, he's gay adjacent. Did Nick Fuentes do an 8-hour live stream with a catboy on what appeared to be a date one time? Yeah. But that's different.
Right.
He had cat ears.
And that's okay because
Nick did it. Yeah. There's no real rules here. It's just vibes. It's whatever you feel.
That's very Trumpy, isn't it? It's the president did it, so it's okay. So the king of the Groypers did it, so you can't be mad about it. It was for a really cool and awesome reason.
So that's I guess the history. So now it's funny because this year I've actually thought less about Nick Fuentes than I have in a really long time, what feels like decades at this point.
Yeah.
Because some of his people have, they've managed to make it into state GOPs in the past, but now they're getting into the administration. And so, I'm like, well, I don't have to watch Nick's show anymore. Joke's on
Because
me.
everyone's looking at Groypers all the time.
Yeah.
Because they're in the administration.
Just turn on.
I was going to say, like, honestly, that's a little bit fair because, for example, somebody like me who's like just trying to look at politics in general, I have been paying more attention to Nick Fuentes. And so it's like, yeah, obviously everybody must be, right?
Yeah.
But we still know so little. Like, the details are simply not there. And like maybe also the generals are not there. So can I go back to the Groyper Wars? Like, what exactly did that constitute? Like, what were people? It was just like going to TPUSA and bothering people, or was it other stuff?
Yeah, I mean, so it was a lot of like, so Turning Point has all of these events, right? They have their big conferences. They have one in the summer, and they have one like bizarrely like days before Christmas, which is like whatever. And so they would send people to these events, and they would have like these like smaller pop-up events. There was one with Dan Crenshaw. There was like a book thing that Trump Jr. was doing, where they would go and ask, all of these like harassing questions. They were never violent or anything, but it was also like a good networking opportunity for these Groypers who wanted to move from the online space into real life space to kind of get to know each other and start to organize events that would run alongside Turning Point USA, that were for them and for recruitment of people who would maybe not want to just like tune into Nick's show, as step one.
Okay. So they're just like nearby and are like, well, this is like a group of potentially like-minded people. Why don't I just stop on by? And then they're ensnarled.
And Turning Point, I mean, it's a recruitment arm. I mean, at this point, it's like an arm of the GOP, right? Because it ran so much of the campaign. But it is, they have donors, they have sponsors, billionaires who put in all this money, and then you would put an application if you're a student to get, a hotel room. You're going to share it, with like 3 other people, but you're not going to be paying for it. So a lot of times you'd be responsible for just the flight, because this is geared toward 18-year-old kids. Like, it's not like it's, geared toward adults. So student tickets are like, I don't know, $25, when adult tickets like $110. And of course, part of this is because college kids don't have money, but also because the average Charlie Kirk fan was like 105 years old, and they were like, this looks bad in the audience. So let's let the kids come in for free.
Amazing. Okay, so they're trying to get young people, right? And like they will claim a lot of credit, right, for the voter turnout. Maybe they helped, but I would say like this guy's mostly just a stunt dude. Like, he just likes to be famous, really. So we got through the Groyper Wars. God, saying those words. Do you know where the word Groyper comes from?
I actually don't know the like etymology. I don't know.
It's always frustrated me.
People ask this,
linguist.
Like, this is something. Yeah, I feel like it's something I should know, but like I don't know how.
But it's one of those things where like somebody coined it, and then everyone was like, "Hell yeah, dude!" And then that's it, right? It's like, that's the word, and it's not always known. So, and this is why we have so many apocryphal etymologies for words that exist, where like it showed up because of reasons we weren't there, so we don't know.
So Amanda, Nick Fuentes has been flittering out of your mind because now we all have to deal with him on a daily basis. Thanks to the people that are in his administration, in the president's administration, I should say. Well, we've had these discussions in roundabout ways with other guests, but since you are an expert, well, who would you say in the Trump administration are in this group? Are Groyper-esque, Groyper adjacent, Groyper sympathetic? Because we know that the vice president, while he was close with Charlie Kirk, he also has these like seemingly Groyperish tendencies or views as well. What can you go into regarding all that?
So I think earlier you like referenced my bio on Blue Sky, which is I got really tired of journalists rewriting my stuff and then referring to me as like some girl, you know. So I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm a
Someone
journalist, and if
online
you
said.
yeah, so I'm like, you have to if you're a journalist taking my work, you have to credit me as a fellow journalist. On
Yes.
TikTok, my bio is I write about the worst people you've never heard of, and that is like that's my whole thing, right? So part of why I have stopped watching Nick's show so often is that all of those formerly anonymous Groyper idiots, the ones that I either personally knew or the ones who had to really clean up their act back in January, they are now the people that you've never heard of. Everybody knows Nick, like whatever. And so, I could say like looking at like lists of people who, are in the White House, there's names on there that I see that I'm like, oh, no, you shouldn't be there. But they're not anybody would know. I think the biggest one is Paul Ingrassia, who he was a fake lawyer for Andrew Tate. Yeah, he said he was Andrew Tate's lawyer. The firm that he worked for said he was Andrew Tate's lawyer. He had failed the bar at that point and had not even taken it yet, retaken the bar exam. So he was just so pressed to be cool that he lied and said he was Andrew Tate's lawyer. He worked with Ed Martin, Eagle Ed Martin, who was briefly the U.S. attorney for D.C., where I live. Very cool for me. And they would make movies together about how some guy who got a Starbucks coffee too close to the FBI the morning of January 6th was probably the guy who did January 6th. So just like absolutely like deranged lunatic stuff.
I'm sorry, the guy who did January 6th is already like very silly. Like, one guy did it.
Everybody else was a good guy. Okay, but this was the one bad guy. Okay.
Right.
So,
he was that Antifa, like what do you call it?
The Antifa super soldier.
Yeah. Mr. Coffee is what they call him. He put it out all these this wasn't Paul Ingrassia, this was Ed Martin. He put out posters all around like Capitol Hill in DC. Have you seen Mr. Coffee? And then he put his real phone number so you could call him if you had tips. And now he's like leading the like retribution arm of the DOJ,
Right.
Cool. But he had ally and Paul Ingrassia. So last year I was at a Turning Point event. Now I have a lifetime ban from Turning Point USA.
And you earned it too.
I sure did. I went to Turning Point USA when I was undercover, and I wore a microphone in my bra. And like one of the first people I met was this guy who was like, "I would like to make America friendly or Nazi Germany" at a Turning Point event.
The first one.
Yeah. So Shirley Kirk was like, "You can't ever come to our stuff again." And now I get rejected. And the one time accidentally accepted me as press, and they were like, "We realize who you are. You can't come." But I go out anyway and just sit outside of it and make my presence known. So last year in June, I went to Detroit for the People's Convention that they had. And Nick Fuentes was supposed to have his little side event, and the venue canceled. So instead he had this like rally directly outside of Turning Point USA. So inside Cobo, the convention center, you have Donald Trump speaking. And at the same time that's going on, you have Nick outside, screaming about how Henry Ford was super cool. Yeah, great American. And as I'm recording, who walks in front of me but Paul Ingrassia? He's just in front of me for like 10, 15 minutes. Now this guy knows who I am. Like this is not everyone at the New York Young Republican Club knew who I was. And he just stood there and listened to Nick's speech. He was there for 10 or 15 minutes. He threatened to sue me when I wrote about it, but I'm like, I have video. Like you literally just stood in front of me. Bro. Yeah. And he like turned and looked into my camera at one point, like perfect, couldn't script it. Yeah. So he's been kind of moved around because he was upsetting people, because he was trying to bring in this lunatic Ed Martin and this other lunatic who also, did January 6 legal cases. But, he disputes being a Groyper. But of course, I know he knows who Nick is. I know. He told me he had no idea. And he has.
I didn't know who that nice young gentleman was. He just seemed to be making a lot of really good points.
In his messages to me, Nick was standing up on top of a roof, and what's below a roof? It's a wall, oftentimes. That's how they work. And I was standing, it was like a wall, like an L shape, and Nick is here. And I'm standing at the only open space. So like to leave, you'd have to walk by me. And Paul was like, oh, I was just cutting through to the other side. I accidentally watched Nick. I don't know if you were walking into
Through
the
the
fucking
wall?
Yeah. And they blocked me. Stop responding to my email. So like, but it's like, okay, yeah, sure.
Because of your leftist wall conspiracy. That's
Yeah.
why you lost access to Paul and Gracia. Okay,
There's
cool.
none.
Okay, so they keep moving him around, right? Because he's clearly a freak. But why is he allowed within, 500 yards of the White House? Like, why would this ever happen?
I mean, many such cases, right? So the
Yeah.
president of the Young Republican Club, the New York Young Republican Club, which Paul Gracia was a part of, the former president, is a guy named Gavin Wax. Gavin Wax used to be a fan of Nick Fuentes. He had defended it on some podcasts, and then one day Nick did a show and called him a New York Jew. So I don't know the relationship is still strong, but Gavin was affiliated with him.
If anyone can recover from that, I feel like it's them.
Yeah, right. Get over it. Gavin was, he was involved with another organization that would do events with the Nick Fuentes, and he became he might still be getting a nomination for FCC commissioner, but he was secretary, or he was chief of staff for a commissioner. So it's, and he's absolutely, if he's not, a Groyper now, it's not an ideological difference. It's just because, Nick called him a New York Jew or whatever. Yeah. That's it.
Right.
I'm getting the sense that the sort of walls between these groups are a little bit permeable. Like somebody might lose you, whoever the sort of spokesperson for one group is might lose you a little bit, but it's not like, oh, well, now I believe in democracy. It's like, oh, well, I'll just wander over here for a little while. Maybe I'll be back. Maybe I won't, but I'm going to stay in this far right sort of general zone.
It's a lot of interpersonal stuff. So, I will sit there and I'll look and I'll be like, oh, someone had sex with your girlfriend? Uh-oh. Sounds like we're going to have an ideological or a interpersonal split, but not ideological. So it's like, do you want to tell me about them? Do you want to, because that's really what it is. It's like, it's not, these huge policy differences that are coming between people. Instead, it is like, this guy got the job I wanted. This guy got the girl I wanted. This guy was an asshole to me when he was drunk. And, or it's a strategic difference in terms of like sometimes people have a problem with Nick because they're like, well, I also want to be an important live streamer.
Honestly, yeah. What's the best way, right? Is start a feud to get people to notice you, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense. So it's more about the narcissism and the personal beefs of these people that kind of drives those kinds of things. So fun. Because we live in a meme country and we live in a celebrity obsessed country. So this all makes sense, right? Okay, so we've got. Have we done it? Did we do Groyper history? Are we now on today? They are sad little men with microphones. They don't always believe in things more so than they believe in their personal right to be famous and loved. And just attention, right? So the one thing that kind of we come back to on this podcast is a lot of the times the far right will say something simply because it's a cool troll to do, right? Like Marjorie Taylor Greene with the Jewish space lasers. She doesn't literally believe that the Rothschild family is directing lasers to set fires in California, right? She said it one time, the libs freaked, and so now she'll say it periodically to get the libs to freak again because she likes that feeling, right? And I don't know, I feel like the Charlie Kirks of the world and the Nick Fuenteses of the world are engaged in similar practices. Would you say that's fair?
Yeah, absolutely. There's this weird thing that I think people do sometimes where it's like they're people too also. So, if you look at my private conversations or even if you just take things out of context, you could spin whatever argument you want, but it's people make jokes and they're sarcastic. And I also feel like there's like this huge, where even when they're not trying to make a splashy statement, where things are just taken so out of context that it's like, come on, you know, what are you? There's so much
Not
bad
this
shit
one.
they say and do that, like, why do you got to make shit up? Like,
Amanda, before we move to the present precisely, can you explain what irony pilling is? Because I've heard that term as well, and I feel like that might be useful for
Our listeners may need the help.
listeners
Yeah,
to
let's go for
understand
it.
as well.
imagine you were just such an asshole all the time that you couldn't even tell if you were like really an asshole or just like doing it for fun. I mean, it's like just it's when you're just so ironic, you know. And I would say like interpersonally, we all have met somebody who is not irony pill, but like, you know, they never know when to turn the sarcasm off. It's like kind of uncomfortable, and it's like, hey, like we're trying to be fucking serious here, like.
Right.
Imagine that, but like a 22-year-old who has never like moved out of his mom's basement and is online all the time. You know, it's like the extreme version of that, where like they don't even know what they really like believe anymore.
Because everything's a bit always.
Everything is a bit, yeah. Like the most like your friend's boyfriend who's a failed stand-up comedian who just doesn't turn it off, but like shitty, but like a shitty person on top of it.
Well, he's not a failed stand-up comedian. It's just that he's never really given it a proper try. But if he did, right, he would absolutely have made it big. He would be Jimmy Kimmel right now or whatever.
Yeah, he's a temporarily embarrassed headliner.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, well, you know, I've been criticized by those in my personal circles for making jokes when I'm uncomfortable. I maintain that that's a human reaction, right? But you cannot be doing it your whole life at all times. Sometimes you have to have a feeling. Sorry.
Yes. And acknowledging that you're doing it when you're uncomfortable is like outside of the realm of what this even is anyway, because like this is to the point where like these guys don't even know, you know, like what do you really believe? It's like I don't actually know. You know, I just you know. And so yeah, it's a really grating like phenomenon. It's like
that's a hard person to have a conversation with, right? Because you're never really having a conversation with them. You're simply fielding bits, and that is a lot. It's draining.
Yeah, and I think some of it comes from like these people don't realize that like when they watch these live streamers or when they watch the stuff, like that is a performance and it turns off when they're not on camera to some degree, you know. Like I'm not saying these people are not Nazis or fascists or whatever, but like they're, you know, generally in my experience, a lot of these kinds of people on whatever side of the spectrum are like quieter sometimes in real life because they're like more awkward in person than they are like behind, you know, a computer screen. Sure. And so like it's just not understanding that like you can't live like a live stream 24/7.
Right. Well, I mean, it also it strikes me that people that would sort of acquire that way of behaving, it would isolate them naturally from other people that weren't themselves. Because as you just noted, that would be remarkably grating to like go out and try to live a functional life dealing with people in that way. You turn people off and you would only have each other and you'd only have those screens to hide behind and communicate. And that probably serves a purpose, you know, whether subconsciously or consciously, in organizing these folks.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a lot of when you go to these events where you have like this kind of person there. I mean, like I've even got, you know, obviously there are like Groypers or Nazis or whoever who talk to me and I like engage with them, and that's where I get some of my information from. And it's like some of them really give me anxiety because they're the ones who can't turn it off. And so it's like, okay, I meet you at this coffee shop. Well, it's like, can you be normal? Like you just turn it off for like the 30 minutes that we're going to be there? Oh, you can't. Okay. You got to say something to, you know, the waitress, like, oh my God, what are we doing? This is so embarrassing for me personally. And so, yeah, it really is. It's like a signifier to anybody who's around. And it's also like an isolation thing. And that's like a minor version of it, right? Because like somebody who is like so irony pilled that they're going to be like, scribbling on bullets and shooting people, you know, isn't meeting with me for coffee to talk shit about, you know, their enemies, their interpersonal enemies.
Right. So what are the kind of comments that you get from these more I don't know, like less pilled guys that are talking to you? Like what's an example of something that they would say when you're out in public and they can't be normal?
I mean, it's like, first of all, we don't have to talk about Donald Trump to like random people. Like, why are we doing this? Like, you don't have to do that. You don't have to quote Nick Fuentes when we're like in public. You know, it's just stuff like that where it's like, and like my dad is like MAGA, and he'll do this too, where he'll like he'll bring up Trump no matter what to anybody at any time. And it's like, you know, I am from the DC area. It's a very, you know, liberal area. And that is where my, you know, my father is, you know, in the area as well. And it's like that. But it replaced like Trump with Nick Fuentes or like whatever, like crazy live stream or like, you know, whatever joke about like noticing or something. And it's just, some of it can be like dog whistles where it's like if the person doesn't know, they don't know. And other times it can be more blatant. And I think a lot of times like Trump is something that like, it's like they just can't control themselves from talking about. And then to what degree they take it after that is, you know, kind of up in the air.
It's the word vomit thing. Yeah, I have family like that where you'll be like, oh, wow, looks like it might rain later. And they're like, yeah, but what do you know? You want to take the Bible out of schools. And I'm like, okay, well, we were talking about the weather.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like that, but Nazi shit. Yes.
Yeah, cool. Okay, so thank you for that lovely summary of irony pilling. I was telling Trent off air that in the Linguistic Society of America we have this it's actually the American Dialect Society, which is a smaller group, but they do a word of the year thing every year, and a couple years ago we put pilling because everything was becoming pilled. It was like the most productive suffix of the year. It was crazy. So yeah. Irony pilling is just one of them, right? There's red pilling, there's black pilling, I feel like now you can just have anything. You can just be pilled. You can be pilled on whatever.
I'm coffee pilled, you know, like
I'm bluey pilled. So as a it became a thing for a minute where I was like, I gotta cool it on the bluey references because I'm a parent of small children. Like what else do I have to talk about? It's my only cultural reference. Okay, so we're in modern day, right? We're allowed to talk modern day. Okay, so we experienced this ridiculous world-shattering event, which is that Charlie Kirk got shot in the neck and died. And everyone just like exploded. Everyone's brains exploded. Everyone became the weirdest, worst version of themselves for a week, and it's still ongoing, like, and counting, honestly. And so like one of the theories that popped up was, oh, this must be a Groyper, right? And the reason is the stuff that we discussed, like it could have fit, maybe, right? Which is this idea that there's people who are on the far right who might be Nick Fuentes fans. They might have fallen off the Nick Fuentes wagon, but still be in the sort of like general area. And they hate Charlie Kirk for anti-Israel reasons or for whatever other, like, he's just a cuck, right? We hate him. He's a family man. There's like a bunch of them who are like, we just really hate anybody who like likes a girl enough to marry one. Ugh. So the, you know, like that was potentially a possible area to look for ideological or sort of social connections for somebody who could be a shooter. And so of course, like if people are talking about Groyper, what's a Groyper? Nick Fuentes is going to have feelings, right? And so he basically said, oh, the left is trying to frame me, right? That's what's happening to me right now. So he said, the left is now shamelessly trying to blame the right for the murder of Charlie Kirk, which they have been openly celebrating and justifying for days. He used the word frame a few times. What was it? September 12th. He's like, we need more from the Trump administration than what we're getting. Release all the information about the assassin and his Discord contacts. Everyone must be investigated. Tell us the plan. How will the government stop this all from happening again? Where is the leadership? 3 question marks. He almost sounds like a Democrat poster there. Like, honestly. like So what is that like? Is he just super confident that it's not one of his guys there?
I think he
Where
was
he's like,
nervous at first.
yeah.
And I over the weekend was talking with other like people who have large social media platforms, and like we were talking about like if there was like even an inkling that somebody could be a follower of mine, like I would also like want to denounce that.
Mhm.
As he
I
did.
Yeah, as he did. And I think it was like a reasonable and the correct thing to do. And people would then tell me, well, why did he denounce it? And it's like, well, because like obviously he's worried. um yeah, like it's very clear to me. Like, and he also has lawyers. Like, he's not. Yeah, because
Right.
like people are always like, oh, he's in his mom's basement live streaming. No, he bought a house. He lives in his house. He's got a legal team. Like, he's got a business. He's selling T-shirts and hats and
It's
stuff.
his followers that are in the basement. He has a
Exactly.
studio.
Yes, and I'll never leave because I keep sending him money. So
Well,
yeah,
right.
it was it was interesting, like this like huge push from people that were primarily not people who know anything about Groypers, because I know people who critically cover Groypers on the right, and then of course obviously on the left, and all of us, like I was talking to all of them individually, group chats, like whatever, and everybody like was like, what's going on? Why are people saying why are people saying this is
Everyone's talking. Yeah.
Groyper?
Why is this
Because
word trending all of a sudden?
yeah, what? Because the thing is, so I guess this is like not quite modern day, but it kind of is. Nick, some of the problems people have with him is that he won't accept like the violence. So there was like a point in time very early on where if you put a black sun in the chat while Nick was live streaming, he banned you. Now he's like, I do love Hitler, yes. And so like this is this evolution. So I'm not saying things can't change, but generally Nick has had a problem with people who like Patriot Front, who are out to intimidate and things like that, or the active clubs. And he's got one live streamer who I don't think is on his platform anymore, who is like literally, it's the most boring live streamer in the world. I mean, like, just want to fucking rip my eyeballs out. And this is a guy who talks about me during his streams, and I'm still like, oh my God, let's go.
So
let's move it up. Like, what are you saying about me? Like, let's move.
I get it.
mean,
I'm a
at this
bitch.
point, at this point, you've heard it, right? So like,
Yeah.
they do need to come up with something new.
Yeah, it's also like he's very boring. It's a very boring delivery. Like, he's not animated. So he's in active clubs, and he's in like Patriot Friend, and he's friends with all of these people, and for a while him and Nick had a huge falling out that lasted quite some time because Nick did not like the optics of the stuff that he was doing, so he wasn't invited to Groyper stuff anymore. But they made up, thank God. And their friendship is probably in disarray again because Nick keeps forgetting to invite him to stuff, which is embarrassing. So, but he like, I know about this split, and I know that like if somebody was like Nick's show and then went out and did an assassination, I would be like, my instinct, my private thing that I would not, publicly say before we get information would be like, yeah, this guy might be a Groyper, but he's also going to have been further radicalized into an active club or something similar to that. It's not going to be like, I'm in Turning Point and I go to Nick stuff. Like, it's not going to be that kind of person. And it could be, but like, I would think it's pretty low odds. So
I think there's a thing where people who are not like terribly online, or even just like liberals, right, will think that Nick Fuentes is like the most extreme you can be. And there's like a whole underbelly under Nick Fuentes. Like, understand that this guy says a lot of awful stuff, and he likes Hitler, and he's very anti-Semitic, and he's like has a lot of really awful rhetoric. However, there's people who take his fans and are like, yeah, but what if also militia? What if also violence? What if also, like, there's more beyond him.
Yeah, I mean, like, I maybe it was 2 years ago. There was a video of Nick at an In-N-Out, like throwing like a drink at someone or something, getting a drink thrown on him, and he like acts like a bitch, and it's like the people who are going to go out and do an assassination, like they might start off liking this guy, but like that he is not teaching them. I've never like Nick has never like I was out, shooting guns. Everybody has to shoot guns and work out every day, so that you can
Right.
be prepared. Whereas like
Yeah.
Active Club does say that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it is
It's a spectrum. It's a spectrum.
Yeah.
That's why we can look at,
So funny.
Charlie Kirk and be like, oh, he's a Nazi piece of shit, right? But
Well-
like in relative to others, right? He's like, as we noted, like he's nothing. He's like a softie,
Yeah.
I don't know why he keeps wearing these suits that make him look smaller too. I don't know if that's like, what's that about? Because they don't fit him very well, and they look like they're his dad's jacket for some reason. I feel like if he wanted to look tough, he would be making different choices, sartorially speaking, and also maybe a different haircut. This like broccoli head thing is like it makes him look younger too, which like he is really young, right? He's still in his 20s, maybe.
Yeah, he is. I think he's 25 now.
Oh my gosh.
26 maybe. Maybe he can rent a car by now. Maybe.
When's his birthday? Should we send him something?
November.
Coming up. Oh boy. Okay, so what is his relationship to like incels? He doesn't like say he's an incel, right? But like he kind of acts like one.
Oh, okay, here's the thing. Is it like
Or
it's
does
bullshit,
he say?
right? Like women
Yeah,
are constantly hitting on him. I mean, this is like he's a celebrity, right? Like in his sphere, he is a celebrity. And so like yeah, like it's like crazy to think that he is like not engaging with women or men, whoever it is that he's interested in, cat boys, whatever.
It's just like not part of his brand, right? Like his like persona.
Well, it is and has been, but like he also had this crush on this girl Kathy. He would talk about. She was in Turning Point. I mean, like for years he would talk about Kathy.
A Turning Point? Oh my gosh, Romeo and Juliet.
I know. And like at the same time, he would be like, "Don't mess with women," and then he'd also be like, "Oh, but Kathy, And it's like she wasn't like a celebrity. Like there's photos of them hanging out together, so it's like
she's just perfect,
attainable. Yeah, and so he's like trying to make it part of his thing, but. I mean, it's like also, so he's what I think we would call a fake cell. Okay. Actual Groyper generals. Many of these, I mean, listen, I know so much about these people. What's that headline? We should all know less about each other. I know so much about who's fucking who in this movement because they just tell me stuff. And I'm like, why are you telling me this? I don't know. So these people, there's not a lot of women. So that's difficult. It does cause some of that strife, but he does on his show say, "Oh, no women," but they are all having sex. Everybody that's actually in the movement, and there's been, God, this is so in the weeds. But 2 years ago at a Turning Point event, there was one 19-year-old who was at, all this Nick Fuentes stuff. And then he got really mad because he's like, "I came to this event, I thought we were all incels and everybody's having sex and drinking." And it's like, yeah, man. What do you think? Anyway, then he worked for the Trump campaign for a little while.
Okay, I think if there's any incels listening to this podcast, what I want you to understand is that all your friends are lying to you on the incel forums. And everyone's having sex but you, okay? So you need to just let those guys go because they're not trustworthy. Go outside. Talk to the barista. It's going to be okay.
Not about Trump or Nick Fuentes, please.
Oh my gosh. And try not to order a coffee under Charlie Kirk's name at Starbucks because, I don't know, the barista might shoot you on sight or something. That's what I'm hearing.
I think it's a law in blue cities that they have to do that, actually. Yes, immediate execution.
Immediate. So watch out for that, obviously, because and also a Kinko's. If you go to a Kinko's and you try to print out Charlie Kirk's name, they're gonna put you in the basement forever. So watch out. Stay safe, guys. But abandon your incel friends because they're not here for you.
Absolutely not.
Okay, thank you for that. It was a total grandma question that I was like, I have to get it out of my system or I'm gonna fall off this chair. So I'm just looking at what are the recent headlines that have the word Groyper in it or related terms, and it is incredible because we have for the last few days it's a bunch of what's a Groyper? Explainer, Newsweek. What is a Groyper? What to know about Nick Fuentes' All Right movement. or like the New Republic, no avoiding it post Kirk. We have to learn about the Groyper Wars, which, to be fair, we agree, right? That's why we brought you here, was to be like, obviously people need to know what this is because they're using it weird. um, and then the Economic Times. What is a Groyper, and was Tyler Robinson a part of alt-right movement? And then just like in the last day or so, Axios is like, how Charlie Kirk's killing sparked unfounded theories about the Groypers.
That fucking Axios article, I swear
I was
to
gonna
God.
ask, are you by any chance mentioned or cited or referenced in this article, Amanda?
No, I'm not. Do you know who is?
No.
KnowYourMeme.com. What is a
For
Groyper?
fuck's sake.
According to Know Your Meme, a Groyper is a cartoon frog. I shit you not. I put a screenshot of it because it's paywalled. I put a screenshot of it on Twitter and Blue Sky, and on both platforms, people thought that it was a joke I was making. No, that's the article.
Okay,
Mark
even
Caputo,
I know.
call me. The guy who wrote it, if you're listening, I have things to say to you.
Yeah, it's Mark Caputo, everybody. So let's just do a quick little cancel culture on Mark Caputo. And let him know he needs to talk to Amanda, because what is happening? A frog. Oh yeah, so that was one thing, is people were like, oh well, he dressed up like that Adidas Pepe, right, with the beer bottle, which is like, he wore an Adidas tracksuit and he maybe held a beer bottle or not, I don't know, because he was like underage, so where'd he get a beer bottle? Not his dad or whatever. And so like I went looking through there and I was like, what the hell is this? It's the Squatting Slav is the meme, and it like comes from a music video I mean, like, the guy said it himself, right? He was like, I don't know, it's like a bunch of meme stuff. You can look at that and you can say, a Groyper, or you can look at that and say, he's been on the internet, you know?
Yeah. Well, plus, like, people were doing their own meme stuff with that, because the Squatting Slav thing and the Pepe thing were two separate memes that then somebody combined into one with the Pepe. Right. Like, it's not that. The original meme was not that. It was people.
It was a guy. It was a real life guy in a music video. So here's the thing for our listeners. Pepe is a cartoon frog, not Groyper. Pepe is a cartoon frog. It was from a comic strip that had like nothing to do with far right anything. It was was it comic books? Anyway, it was like just kind of like a stoner deadbeat kind of frog character. It got taken up by the Groypers, and now what happens is that frog gets inserted into every meme that exists, right? Like, people will draw the frog in to any image that has become memeified, right? Like, it doesn't matter what it is. So the Squatting Slav is one of them, but you can find Pepe like in Hamilton the musical. You can find Pepe like yelling at a cat eating salad. Like, you can find Pepe doing whatever, because that's a thing people like to do, is like squash stuff together, right? So this is an example of that, I guess.
And the Groyper is like fatter than Pepe. Like,
right.
Pepe is just skinnier, the more like, you know, human like looking, and then the Groyper is just like, but like Stay Puft Marshmallow guy, you know.
Yeah. So, you know, that's good. The physiognomy of the Groyper Pepe versus just like the frog that's famous on the internet. That's very important to know. Oh, man. You know, I love getting in the weeds because it's just fun. It just is fun. It's okay to do it. I found a fat Pepe. That's great. Right. So the Groypers as a whole, like, not just Nick, because Nick did a lot of like, as the head of the thing, he was like concerned about his legal situation. He was concerned about whether or not somebody who followed him had committed violence. Like, he was thinking about the things that you would think about if you were the generator of the messages. What about all the little basement kids that follow him / adults? Like, honestly, let's be fair.
Well, a lot of what I was getting was like them linking to me and being like, this liberal bitch says it's not us.
Well, you have had a week, haven't you?
Yeah, so I think, you know, a lot of them didn't also, I mean, the ones that, like, at least I know, because like obviously there's a bunch of anonymous ones that are like, don't engage with me and I don't follow them, but I think a lot of them were kind of like also under the impression it was not one of theirs, though some of them certainly were like, if it is, that's pretty cool, you know, like that
That feels like
that was not a zero opinion. Like,
I'm used to like the rhetoric of Holocaust deniers, which has a Venn diagram here, obviously, where it's like, oh, it didn't happen, but if it did, that was great. Like
yes,
that's where we're at here.
yes, yes.
Okay, so they
But yeah.
were basically like probably not us. I saw a couple of them react to Ben Shapiro saying like, I'm gonna pick up his bloodied microphone, and then a bunch of Groypers were like, that Jew.
That's right. What? No, you're not.
Yeah. I found a conspiracy theory that actually Ben Shapiro did it so he could have Charlie Kirk's job, which is very fun, and like spread Judaism to his Christian followers.
Again, famously, Charlie Kirk lied and said that he observed the Sabbath. Like, I mean, just like, what are we doing, guys? Like,
well,
what are we doing? Like,
he has said in some debates that he believes that the 10 Commandments are the only like actual laws that you should follow. One of them famously is keep the Sabbath holy, but he doesn't do it. And also, I don't know. I guess the whole Sabbath thing is funny. A lot of my family is Seventh-day Adventist, so they're like very smug about it. They're like, but we actually do. They'll be so proud of me for plugging their religion. Listen, say what you want about the Seventh-day Adventists. They do keep the Sabbath. Unlike Charlie Kirk.
Unlike Charlie Kirk.
Okay, so then, oh yeah, there we go. I found Nick Fuentes a couple days ago. My followers and I are currently being framed for the murder of Charlie Kirk by the mainstream media. I get why he feels like that way, actually. Not the. Yeah. I feel like framing is probably a little far, but he was being implicated for sure, and he didn't like that feeling. Okay, so do you know this account Groyper? I don't know. Is that like an actual Groyper account, or is that just somebody who thinks it's fun to pretend?
I don't know. I don't know the account.
Yeah, they have a lot of followers, but yeah, that's where I found the fat Pepe. So they
follow me apparently. So yeah, I guess.
Oh, cool and fun. So they said after Charlie Kirk's senseless passing, rest in peace, and Nick's masterclass he put on last night, they all see what's coming around Bend, which maybe you meant the Bend, and then it's a cartoon of like a bunch of different far right influencers, plus Michel Foucault is in there. I see James Lindsay. I see the Babylon Bee guy. I see a lot of cartoons, and he did Tim Pool, and he did draw Charlie Kirk with a very small face waving an Israel flag, and then in the middle is a big fat Pepe wearing an America First hat, and then a t-shirt that says Judeo-Christian, and it's crossed out the Judeo part. So there's a lot there. Amanda, what's happening?
That sounds extremely on brand. Okay, I just found the photo. Wow. They all see what's coming around, Ben. This is incredible.
I'm embarrassed by how many of those characters I recognized, honestly.
Yeah. I think it is a mark of shame, honestly. We should all feel bad about ourselves right now.
Is that Bill Maher at the bottom front? Is that who I'm looking at there?
That I don't know.
Wagging his finger. It looks kind of like him, and he's got his blue tie, and he's wagging his finger shamefully.
I like that. That's nice. That's good. Yeah. You know, that's some bipartisan. Yeah, I mean, they think that they're the heir apparent to the movement, and I mean, in their defense, they've run this very solid game of infiltration of Turning Point USA and Turning Point Action. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's a lot of people, not people who are going to conferences and hanging out, people who have jobs, who are personal friends with Nick, who are orchestrating and unbanning Groypers because Charlie would ban them. There are people, as I understand, I have allegedly been told that perhaps this could be happening, that in some cases Turning Point Action, not Charlie did not know about this, But in some cases, representatives in Turning Point Action have straight up told people, if you can just come around on Israel, and cut back a little bit on the other stuff, we'll let you in. You gotta, because the one thing you really cannot be I hate Israel and then also at Turning Point, that is the one thing they will actually fire you for.
Yeah.
Right. And
and Nick Fuentes is very strong on that point. He says absolutely hate Israel.
But he's got people who work for Turning Point who hang out with him or in his social circles. And I think this is everybody in the background except for them. I mean, it's obviously a pipe dream. I mean, Nick's rhetoric at the end of the day is still reprehensible to most people. Most people do not when Charlie was shot, he did this live stream the next day I don't know. Time is a blur. Some point in time after. And it's all
it's all fake anyway.
Yeah, nothing matters. It's all God, Jesus, and pray. And it's he knew more people would watch that than would watch anything else. And so he delivered his message in a certain way for that day. But his show is not, primarily let's sit around and talk about Jesus. It was I know the mainstream media is going to be tuning into one episode a year, and it's this one. And so, but the actual,
I got to make the show for that audience, right?
100%. And then he later commented, he was there were so many people watching that other show, wasn't there, guys?
Wow.
It's yeah.
Golly gee.
Yeah. So
okay.
They do really just have this delusion, many of them, that if they could just get everybody to sit down and shut up and listen to their message, everyone would see it really is the Jews. Black people really do need their own communities far away from white people. And we've been right about everything. And that's just not reality at all. And so that's what this is.
Okay, so it's kind of, they're hoping to use this event as kind of a way to further that goal, where we didn't do it, but we sure can use it.
Everybody's doing that.
Cool.
People I know who've hated Charlie, who've personally DM'd me about how much they hate Charlie, literal, publicly saying I love Hitler people, telling me privately I fucking hate Charlie Kirk, are out here on Twitter.com their mom got shot in the face. Okay, they're Charlie was an angel, and you should come to my
person that ever lived.
Yes. And they're all these lunatics.
If you love Charlie, you're gonna really love us. Come on over.
Yeah, it's gonna be great. We're going to avenge Charlie. And you've got this, these the active clubs and Patriot Front working as security for mainstream Republicans who, 6 months ago would have either sincerely or at least paid lip service to the idea that they don't I mean, I spent the March for Life, which is a pretty far right event, but still within the mainstream sphere. I spent that whole day with Patriot Front and just walked around with them. They sat and hung out. I sat and hung out. They stood around, hung out. I stood around, hung out. And I watched a lot of people who were there for that march come up and be fuck you, this is not what we are. And now these same kinds of people are thank you for protecting us from the left-wing assassins that are going to come to our vigil.
Yeah. So afraid of left-wing people that they just let the fascists walk in and take the whole thing. It's a tragedy. The writing was good though.
So okay, so we've got the relationship between Turning Point USA and the Groypers. Very interesting. Thank you. Are you able to comment on the relationship of the Daily Wire people with these two groups? I feel there's friendliness with Turning Point, but maybe not the Groypers, or I don't know. What do you think?
So what I would know would really come through the sphere of following Nick, because it's a little too mainstream for me to follow it. But I mean, he's always bitching and crying about them. I mean, how they're shills for Israel and blah blah blah. Yeah. So I think it's really not positive. But
they are being run by a Jewish guy, right? So that's unacceptable.
Number one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, right. You're not gonna win them over as long as you still have that. So we've got Matt Walsh protecting Nick Fuentes because I think that benefits them a bit to say, he says, unsurprisingly, the left is gearing up to pin this on Nick Fuentes by claiming the killer was a Groyper. Unfortunately for them, that claim doesn't fit any of the facts on the ground. Not that they give a damn about that, in parentheses. The killer labeled Kirk a fascist. That is a term only ever used by the left as an insult to the right. Now, he had us up until then, I think. The right does actually use fascist as an insult.
They do, yeah. Well, and also, like, Matt Walsh in particular is somebody who, if you remember 10 years ago, there was a website, what is Matt Walsh wrong about today.com, because he had such horrific takes every single day that people were able to do this. He has posters still up on Facebook that are like, Trump is a fascist. Not, I don't know if he says the word fascist, but like he's like warning about Trump in 2015 and 16. So just like a completely like weak-willed idiot. And something that Nick is always saying is like, look at Matt Walsh, like Groyper, total Groyper victory, because Matt Walsh is like, whites are under siege.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so I'm not surprised he's defending.
Again, like that liberal bitch is defending us, so so we win. Right. Cool. Okay. Yeah, he's on one though. He's loving this. Definitely. I think all of these guys feel like they can use it to their advantage, right? And they're not like wrong. Right? Like this can benefit them. And so they're doing business is what they're doing. They're doing really good business. Okay, so I had another one I want. Oh yeah, Milo Yiannopoulos. He also thinks maybe he can take over. He made a pledge. He said, I've had a very easy life overflowing with blessings. It was lazy and self-indulgent of me to retire so early, planning to get back out there as soon as practically possible. We have to break the back of this demon. I'm ready to be with Jesus if that's what our Lord decides. So he's ready to martyr himself for the cause, thanks to Charlie Kirk. What a brave, brave man. First recovering from homosexuality and now this. I think, he really deserves our admiration.
Absolutely.
You didn't retire. People didn't like you. People made fun of you.
That's right.
You didn't retire. You were bullied out of the sphere. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
I'm going to come out of retirement. Like, also, I think he was like doing money shit like on the back end, right? For like Marjorie Taylor Greene, like maybe writing some stuff for her and then like
right, he was an intern for her.
Yeah,
he was working with Kanye. Yes, he was working with Kanye and said that Kanye had been that his doctor who was giving him the gas was like taking advantage of me. He wrote this whole very impassioned letter about how like he is a victim.
Yes. Like what is he gonna do? He's gonna do these, like, they had that stupid was it Penn they were at? It was like right after the Madison Square Garden rally, I think, because I tried to go to it. I didn't. And like because I was like, this is a waste of my time. Where they were like, talking in college. He's like trying to relive the glory days of people yelling at him and like, he needs some new Richard Spencer figure who actually has paid security, that could then like beat up these protesters. Like, yeah, they like 2017 was like a fucking banger year if you were one of these people. And it must be a real bummer that you did all this shit and got canceled. And now people are coming out of the Young Republican Club saying crazier shit than you ever said. People are like, did you want to work for the FCC? Like, did you get a job, son? Like,
that's gotta hurt.
They're trying, and I've heard some of these old school figures like directly be like, I'm sorry, who's doing what? Like, that person has a job and I can't get one. So I think, he just wants to be in the fun again.
Oh, poor Milo. Just let me back in.
Who doesn't want to be a part of the fun again?
Also, someone is going to send this to him. I mean, a lot of Groypers are going to watch this, but then someone's going to send that clip to him and he's going to be angry. Milo scares me. He's like the only person that actually scares me.
Oh, no.
No. Well, so he can't do anything to me, right? But like the reason he scares me is that he records everything. And like, as someone who recorded everything, I didn't like the people I was recording. Do you know what I mean? They weren't my friends. Like, I could never, ever like record my friends. But this motherfucker, these were his friends. And he was just like, I don't give a shit. And like, that is fucking crazy. That is psychotic. The fact, like, it is a burden to like deal with that. And then he not only does that, he like organizes it and saves it. So he's never recorded me. It's not like we can do anything. But like the fact, I'm like, and I, you game recognized game. I see your code for Milo here, and it fucking freaks me out. Like, don't stop it.
I have to say, because I've done ethnographic research for linguistics, and I've had to like record a lot of hours of stuff, and like just the file management alone is like so much work. So honestly, props.
Yeah. He's like dedicated. He's like, this guy's my friend today, but I have 30 hours to dedicate to potentially ruining his life in the future. And that is like,
if I need it.
Wow, I couldn't do it. That's a lot of work.
Yeah, it is a lot of work and a lot of paranoia and a lot of potential bad will. I mean, a person who does that, you couldn't trust him to go out and have a drink. Couldn't trust him to go out and have a supper. I mean, that's
right.
That's next level shit.
I can't imagine ever like drinking alcohol around any of these people, because if I relax a little, like that's it. I'm done. Like I'll say something and then that's gonna be what's on the internet tomorrow. Like they can't any of them really be friends. Like there's no way.
Right.
The suspicion is so high.
Yeah. It's such a like bleak, dark way to live. I mean, it's like I think influencer culture is like bad in general, and like I said, a lot of influencers that I know are like, no matter their political views, no matter what they talk about, doesn't matter like fashion, whatever, they are really weird in real life. They are just so accustomed to talking to a screen or to posting online, and so they are just not super social people. And the few that are, like, it's always notable. But yeah, to like on top of that, like weirdo, culture, like of people who are drawn to do this anyway, like to be also that dedicated, it's just it's exhausting. I literally don't know how any of them ever just relax.
Right. You're like surrounded by people, but they're all potential enemies at any minute. Like I don't know how you even wind down at bedtime and fall asleep.
Yeah.
Wow. Now I'm sad.
Well, they're not. It's not too bad for them.
Oh, right. Okay, cool. Continue then. Continue to torture each other psychologically until, you all either retire or the thing that happens to all of us happens. Cool.
Well,
okay.
Well, I mean, it is interesting that what you're describing in the interpersonal sphere, Amanda, it's the same in the international sphere. Like all fascist adjacent nations, they're just drinking buddies for the night. They're not really friends, because how could you be friends with somebody who thinks that like they're the absolute like most necessary race or group when you think you're the most necessary race or group?
And some of them have nukes.
Right. Right. So it's again, like you said, it's a dark, bleak world to live in, because ultimately you're very alone. And that is wretched. Although, as we noted, they are fascists and Nazis, so fuck them.
Yeah. It is interesting because I get a lot of people on the left who will be like, why do these people talk to you? Why does anybody trust you? Even the ones who didn't know you. And like, they talk to me because I went undercover. And like the ones who are really in it, like there's some, like a lot of groups, like the kid who showed up and was like, you guys are having sex? Ew. But the ones who are like really in it are like, well, it's just business. Like they get it. They compartmentalize it in a way that they must do with someone like Milo, who records them and then mocks them, and then 2 years later is a friend again. It's like, it's just like a very strange culture.
It's like they think you're useful to them for then, so why not say that, like feed you the stuff that'll help them. Ugh. Well, I really admire what you do. I think that it must be really hard, and not least because of all the files that you have to keep track of in your computer, because that's really hard for me and I don't like it. And are there any like parting thoughts you want to leave us with before we finish up?
Well, things seem really bad because they are, and that sucks. Mm-hmm. But all of these people hate each other. So if there's one thing you take away from this, it's just like, when you're upset about the future of the country and your personal future living here, I want everyone to think all of these people would fucking kill each other if they could. So there's that.
They're all like one interpersonal misstep away from destroying each other. And
Yeah.
that's lovely.
Yeah.
Well, Amanda,
Thank you.
thank you for the education and thank you for coming on. We hope that we can have you back on for sure. But can you remind everybody where they can follow all of your wonderful education and coverage, whether it's online or Blue Sky or Twitter or any of those places, even though we don't like Twitter?
I am on every social media platform: Blue Sky, Twitter, Tumblr, TikTok, Facebook, I don't know, Gab. Find me anywhere, True Social.
Oh my gosh.
At No Turtle Soup 17.
You got the username on every platform. That's very impressive.
That's right.
I try to be Caitlin Mariah wherever I am, but I'm not that many places, so it's easier.
Same. Well, again, Amanda, we appreciate you so much. We look forward to having you again. And, well, to our listeners and viewers, you know that understanding a question is half of the answer. This is, of course, half the answer. And we look forward to catching up with you again real soon. Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Half the Answer, presented by Liberal Currents. You can find Half the Answer anywhere you get your podcasts. Liberal Currents is an entirely listener and subscriber-funded publication, which includes programs like Half the Answer and Neon Liberalism. So, if you like what you've heard and wish to contribute, you may do so at liberalcurrents.com and through Patreon. And remember, understanding a question is half the answer.